Hi, I'm Professor Shiva Panchakshari. Today I'm going to discuss with you the principles of split spectrum technology. The split spectrum technology is one of the most used technologies after Second World War. This technology was used in Second World War to identify and avoid the effect of interference caused by enemy. In the battlefield, enemy used to produce intentional interference to spoil the information. To avoid this effect of intentional interference, also called jamming, this technology was used. After the Second World War, this technology is being used also in civilian applications, particularly in communications. This is one of the appreciated technologies in mobile communication systems. Let us look into the definition of split spectrum. Split spectrum is a means of transmission in which data of interest occupies a bandwidth in excess of the minimum bandwidth necessary to send the data. So in this particular technology, more bandwidth is offered for the transmission of the data than the actual bandwidth required. The bandwidth expansion for the information signal is intentional. So just by enhancing the bandwidth of the data to be transmitted, we can provide security for the information signal against jamming signals. In the second part of the definition, we introduce one more information. The spectrum spreading is accomplished before transmission through the use of a code that is independent of the data sequence. The same code is used in the received to despread the received signal so that the original data may be recovered. That means to perform spreading of the signal at the transmitter and despreading of the signal at the receiver, a special code is used. This code is specially created or developed for this split spectrum technology. This code plays a vital role in this technology. The primary advantage of the split spectrum technology, it has the ability to reject interference, whether it is intentional or unintentional, caused in communication systems. Intentional interferences are especially confined to some of the applications. In most of the communication systems, in general, unintentional interference is caused due to co-channels or adjacent channels. That interference is also avoided by this technology. Some of the applications of the split spectrum. As I said already, it is used in military applications to resist jamming or to avoid jamming. And it is also used in multipath rejection. This is one of the problems accomplished in indoor communication systems or indoor mobile communication systems, particularly in wireless communication systems, where ground itself causes most of the reflection. The reflected signal causes a lot of distortion at the receiver. To avoid this multipath rejection, split spectrum can be used. Next, in sharing the channel by many users, that is multiple access, also causes some interferences which can be avoided using split spectrum technology. It provides immunity against eavesdropping in transmitted signal. And it is also used in mobile communication, that is CDMA mobile communication, which is basically developed on split spectrum technology. So split spectrum also introduces extra security and privacy over noisy channel by using a set of orthogonal carrier signals for communication system. What is split spectrum all about? So we shall discuss a few points about it. Split spectrum provides protection against externally generated interfering signals with finite power. So according to us, in split spectrum technology, interference means it's a signal coming from unwanted or unknown source with finite power. Jamming signal may consist of fairly powerful broadband noise or multi-tone waveform that is directed to the receiver for the purpose of disrupting communication. So the interference signal may be multi-tone signal, or the signal having many frequencies, or it may be a complete range of signal frequencies, powerful frequencies occupying considerable amount of the spectrum. The protection against jamming waveform is provided by purposely making the information bearing signal occupy a bandwidth in excess of the minimum bandwidth necessary to transmit it. So in spread spectrum, it is required to spread the bandwidth of the information signal over a wide range that is more than the required in excess. The bandwidth of this particular information signal will be much more than the bandwidth of the interfering signal. Okay. So we have to sacrifice the bandwidth so that extra security and privacy is offered. Spread spectrum has the effect of making transmitted signal assume a noise-like appearance so as to blend into the background. This is one of the very interesting feature of spread spectrum. That is, after spreading the spectrum of the signal appears like as if it is buried in the background noise. That means the amplitude of the spread spectrum spreaded signal goes less than the amplitude of the noise. So this makes it invisible for the unintended users. So here I have given you a block diagram of spread spectrum technique. So as in most of the communication system, the information binary sequence is applied to channel encoder. Channel encoder make the signal stronger against the channel disorders so that minimum errors are introduced at the receiver. So after channel encoding, the signal is modulated using a special signal called pseudo-random sequence. This is the essence of spread spectrum technology. The spread spectrum technology is characterized by usage of a special sequence called pseudo-random sequence or PN sequence, pseudo-noise random sequence, which helps the information signal to spread its spectrum over a wide range. After the signal is transmitted over channel and at the demodulator, that is at the receiver, at the time of demodulation, the same pseudo-random sequence that was used at the transmitter is used to despread the signal. The pseudo-random pattern that is used at the receiver will be locally generated in phase synchronization with that of the sequence used at the transmitter. The later channel decoding is performed to identify the errors, to detect and correct the errors. The basic concept of spread spectrum is explained in these waveforms. The first waveform, what I've shown, is called C of t, that is the code signal, which is one of the important signal in the spread spectrum technology. This is also called pseudo noise random signal because this appears like a noise signal for unintended users. This is not known to others except the generators. So the pseudo random sequence is also a binary sequence having a periodic pattern, which is not known to unintended users. And this C of t, the pseudo random sequence, is generated based on a particular technique. The second signal gives information signal, which is multiplied with the C of t, that is the PN sequence, to get our spreading signal. Right. The information signal has a period of TB, so that its data rate is 1 by TB. So after spreading, its period becomes TC, which is much less than TB. Right. So the spreaded signal pulse duration is TC, which is less So indirectly, its bandwidth is expanded. The same thing what I explained just now is explained here in frequency domain, where V of f is the spectrum of the information signal, whose bandwidth is 1 by TB. The information signal is multiplied with PN sequence or code sequence in time domain, which is equivalent to convolution between the spectrum of the code signal and the spectrum of the information signal. After convolving V of f with C of f, we get the output of V of f convolution C of f, whose bandwidth is 1 by TC plus 1 by TB. As I said already, PN sequence plays a very important role in spread spectrum technology, because this is the one which keeps this information signal safe from the jammers. Let's look into a few points about it. A PN sequence is defined as a coded sequence of ones and zeros with certain autocorrelation properties. These sequences are periodic. Point to be noted here is the PN sequence is basically a random sequence for others. Hence, it has its own autocorrelation properties, specific autocorrelation properties. And these are basically periodic signals. That's why they are called pseudo-random. One of the most used PN sequences is a maximum length sequence, which is also a sequence of ones and zeros. It's a type of cyclic code which represents commonly used PN sequence. These maximum length sequences have long periods and require simple instrumentation in the form of a linear feedback shift registers. So maximum length sequences are generated using simple digital logic circuits, which is only known to the people using these applications. Without this digital circuitry, this PN sequence cannot be generated. Hence, the name PN sequence or a random sequence. So, in the previous slide, here I have given a diagram of digital logic circuit, which consisting of 3 shift registers, right, and also an XOR operation, which is equivalent to a modulo 2 operation, which is involved in generation of the PN sequence. So here the output of this particular digital circuit can be obtained assuming an initial state of 1, 0, 0. That means the first flip-flop is having 1, second one 0, third one is also 0. After continuously giving clock pulses, the pattern 1, 0, 0 is sequentially shifted to the right, and so that we can get the output. But only thing is here the input to the first register is coming from modulo 2 operation of the output of the first register and third register. So looking into the logical operations involved in this particular circuit, we can obtain a final sequence, final states of the flip-flops. The final states of the flip-flops are given here: 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0. So after certain logical steps, the operation is repeated. So it is periodic. Okay. So the output sequence is taken out as 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, which repeats itself with a period of 7. That is 2 power 3 minus 1. The 3 is because of 3 flip-flops. These maximum length sequences have certain properties, as I said already. The 3 properties are identified in these sequences. First property is called a balance property, according to which the number of ones is always more than the number of zeros in PN sequence. That means in a PN sequence of length 7 bits, 4 bits will be ones 3 bits will be zeros. So number of ones will be 1 more than the number of zeros. The second property is called the run property. As we all know, run is a continuous sequence of either ones or zeros. So according to this property, in a maximum length sequence, one half of the runs of each kind, that means either 0 or 1s, are of length 1. 1/4 of the maximum length sequences, 1/4 of the runs of the maximum length sequence are of length 2. 1/8 are of length 3, and so on, as long as these fractions represent meaningful numbers of runs. Right. That means if there are 8 number of runs, let us say, out of which half of them are of size 1 bit. 1/4, that is 1/4 of them are of size length 2, and so on. This property should hold good. The third property is autocorrelation property. Right. As I said, maximum length sequence is periodic, so autocorrelation function is also periodic and binary valued. Only 2 values. Right. A particular bit in a PN maximum length sequence is highly correlated with itself and not at all correlated with other bits. Out of 7 bits of PN sequence, a particular bit is having highest correlation with itself and not at all having any correlation with other 6 bits. This is how the autocorrelation function looks like, appears like. It's periodic. It is shown in the diagram. So using this PN junction, PN sequence for generating a maximum, for generating spread spectrum signal is usually represented as a block diagram. Okay. There are 2 types of spread spectrum technique, basically. First one is direct sequence spread spectrum. Second one is frequency hopping spread spectrum. The direct sequence spread spectrum is very simple one. But one problem in this one is it cannot occupy a very wide range of spectrum by using maximum length sequence because of its hardware limitation. Whereas in frequency hopping spread spectrum, we can make the signal to occupy very large bandwidth. We can spread the signal over a large bandwidth, but the problem is we cannot occupy the entire spectrum at the same time. It is done over a particular time. So both of them are having their its own applications, its own advantage and disadvantage, which we shall discuss in the later stage. So we shall wind this session. Thank you.